The second variant of the Porsche 992 generation arrived in Gran Turismo 7 with update 1.54, a year after the debut of the 911 GT3 RS. Enter the Porsche 911 Turbo S. Its stunning looks, blistering speed, and advanced four-wheel drive system that rockets the car out of corners, the Turbo S is nothing short of a modern day rocket ship, both for the road and the track. And in today's video, I'm going to give you my full review and thoughts on this piece of German engineering perfection. Of course, as always, we will start with the price and performance as well. If a car is too expensive or the stats aren't very good, why would you go ahead and spend your hard-earned credits on it? So without further ado, let's begin and look at the specs. So the Porsche 911 Turbo S 992 2020 has a PP rating of 621.98, a displacement of 3,745cc, a drivetrain which is four-wheel drive, a maximum power output of 641 brake horsepower, weighing a fairly hefty 1,640 kilograms, and an aspiration which is turbocharged. You get all this for a price point of 300,000 credits, and it is one of the more expensive Porsches in game. Now, I can't really talk about the 911 Turbo S without talking about the other 992 variant that we have, which came alongside Gran Turismo 7's Spec 2 update or 1.40 in 2023. Of course, I'm talking about the 911 GT3 RS, which is basically a full aeroed active DRS monster built for the track. This thing is an absolute machine and a standout firm favourite of mine ever since its release to the game. And it's a completely different story if we look at the specs and stats for this one. As you can see, it has a PP rating of 646.87, a displacement of 3996cc, a drivetrain which is RR instead of four-wheel drive, a maximum power output which is less at 517, weighing 1450 kilograms, and unlike the Turbo S, is naturally aspirated for 340,000 credits, or 40,000 credits more than the Turbo S which is newly released. So does already having the GT3 RS instantly make the Turbo S irrelevant to Gran Turismo 7? I would say not. However, when it comes to on-track performance, there is no denying that the GT3 RS continues to be an absolute marvel. I put them both head to head for a lap around the Nordschleife, and honestly it just wasn't even close. The GT3 RS absolutely smacked up the Turbo S by a huge margin. Over a single lap of the Nordschleife, the 911 GT3 RS did it in a time of 7:07.425, with the Turbo S a time of 7 minutes 20.585. However, things such as tyre compounds can play a key part, with one running sports mediums and one running sports hards. So, a new generation. Let's discuss the Porsche 911 992. This is the 8th generation of the Porsche 911. The car launched in 2018 with the model that we're seeing here, the Turbo S, launching in March of 2020. Where the Turbo S really sets itself apart is the fact that it combines both supercar performance and that luxury that you will typically find with Porsche. It's a massively refined machine. It has the fact that it is a four-wheel drive rocket ship out of corners, can reach incredible top speeds, incredible handling and beautiful stability. Put that all together and you really do have a true supercar. And I would say that's where the 911 really started moving away. From the 991 generation and the 992, the higher tiers of the 911 really breached into that full-blown supercar territory, and there's really no doubt in that. The stats alone really speak for themselves. It's a true supercar. It's equipped with a twin turbocharged 3.7 litre flat 6 engine producing 641 horsepower. It's the 3 litre unit that is typically found in the Carrera cars, however it's of course a much more refined engine. In terms of the performance stats, the car will accelerate from 0 to 62 in just 2.7 seconds, a little bit different with the convertible version which is 2.8, but really not much difference there. It reaches a top speed of 205 miles per hour. It has larger turbochargers and an updated air intake system which is now placed directly behind the engine. This enhances the car's power output and efficiency. Whilst the Turbo S isn't as extreme as something like the GT3 RS, it remains a staple of the supercar world, pushing the boundaries of what's possible from a road car. Now of course it's all good having these incredible mind-bending real-world statistics, but what matters is how does that transfer into Gran Turismo 7? And well, I'm glad you've asked. Next up, in-game performance. This is where the car begins to shine. The Turbo S cements its place as one of the fastest and most versatile cars in Gran Turismo 7. Excelling on nearly every single track, its four-wheel drive system gives it a significant advantage in terms of grip, allowing it to outperform many other supercars in various events. However, one area where it struggles in comparison to the GT3 RS is the weight of the car. The car feels heavier in the corners and during braking, a factor that's quite noticeable when pushing it to the limit. Despite this, its immense power, incredible grip and overall ease of driving ensure that the Turbo S remains a dominant force on the track. A downside, however, is the car's performance in certain events. Whilst it shines in 700pp races, the Turbo S struggles in 800pp events where its fuel consumption becomes too much of an issue, and on the flip side, 600pp events strip away too much of the car's performance, making it far less enjoyable. So at first it may feel quite limiting. If you went for a 700pp kind of realistic build, it can go ahead and grind the likes of the WTC at Le Mans. The car performs fantastic, if not a little bit thirsty at times, but it will get the job done. Of course, when it comes to the other events such as the 800pp event as mentioned, this is where things get a little bit different and a lot more difficult for the car. Yes, you can upgrade it upwards of 800pp to over 1000 brake horsepower, which I'll mention soon, but without a race fuel tank, it's at a massive disadvantage. And when it comes to those 600pp events as mentioned, you strip away so much of the performance, it becomes a shell of its former self and just takes away too much of the enjoyment from the standard version of the car. Now on the flip side, this isn't really a point against the car itself, it's actually mainly due to the developers. Of course, if Polyphony went ahead and just put those extra grinding events in, this car along with many others would become extremely usable. Again, the fact that we only really have 4 events to grind in game really limit a bunch of cars, and it's the exact same when it comes to the 992, with it only performing incredibly well at 700pp. Without different events to take it to, you're kind of limited to either the 700 event, custom races, or of course some of the shorter events in game. Hopefully Polyphony one day just turn things around, shake up the economy a bit, and of course put those longer events in, making many of the game's incredible cars much more usable. Where the Turbo S truly shines is when it comes to the upgrade potential. It really sets itself apart from almost anything else in game, or really anything else with a Porsche badge on it. When it comes to tuning, its highly tunable engine can put upwards of over 1000 brake horsepower, making it a true beast on the track. However, it does have a few downsides. If you were expecting aero changes, there's really not much to look at here. There's no wide body modification or engine swap. Of course, you have your typical arrangement of wheels to choose from, but when it comes to other aero options such as the front, side, rear and wing, there's not much on offer here. From the front we have a Type A and a Type B, which really don't change up the car that much, and from the rear wing we have wingless, Type A and Type B. Me personally, I think the Type A looks incredibly stunning, and something else to note is that the active aero on this car doesn't actually work. I'm sure that'll be patched at some point. But where the key custom parts are coming from is actually from the replicas that the community is making, such as this Sports Classic or the Dakar variant. Again, this is where the community are stepping in where Polyphony aren't, and just making this car that much more versatile and changing up its looks completely. So the community is basically doing God's work. As mentioned though, the car absolutely shines when it comes to the upgrades, and it doesn't just stop there. Polyphony have deemed the engine to be strong enough to be swappable day one in the game. So in terms of its engine swaps, it can go in 2 cars. The first is the Subaru WRX STI from 2014, and the second is the previous generation, the 991 GT3 RS. So really, that is proof in the pudding. It's a very strong engine, and that's where all my praise of this car comes from. Whilst it definitely isn't the best in terms of its aero modifications, when it comes to booting out over 1000 brake horsepower with a 4-wheel drive system, this car is almost unmatched. This is why I would say the Turbo S is not instantly irrelevant thanks to the GT3 RS. It is the much better of the two when it comes to customization and just getting that balance right. I would say if you want a custom one, go for the Turbo S. If you want pure on-track performance with DRS, go for the GT3 RS. And there we go, that is my thoughts on the brand new Porsche 911 Turbo S, of course coming alongside update 1.54. Whilst it does have a few issues such as the sound being a little bit off and the active aero not working, I'm sure Polyphony will patch these in future updates. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and a big thank you to all my channel members on screen now. I will see you in the next one. Take care guys, peace.